The think tank Policy Exchange has said that trans women should be banned from competing against biological females at grassroots sport. The report pointed to the staggering statistic that at least 3 parkrun records are held by biological males. In May this year, Sean Longthorpe, who was living as a married man until 4 years ago, smashed the record in the 45 to 49 age category by a full 1 minute and 13 seconds. And reacting to the report, former Olympic swimmer Sharron Davies said trans athletes are stealing medals from women. I'm delighted to say that Sharron Davies joins me now. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Sharron. On that point, we do keep seeing these images of male athletes towering over females on the podium. It's not going away. Activists always said this is just a one-off thing every now and then. It's not really affecting women's sports. But that's not the case, is it?
No, it's not the case at all. I mean, we've seen, many people, including the likes of people like Leah Thomas, obviously, but there are 50 males that we know of at the moment in women's football, just in the UK. So the problem is that we know that males are bigger and stronger and faster. In fact, athletics records and swimming records, all of the best women's world records are beatable by 14-year-old boys. So puberty makes an absolutely massive difference. But it's also just the biology of being male. Even if you haven't gone through male puberty, you will be taller, you will have bigger hands, bigger feet, bigger lung capacity, stronger bone density, all sorts of different things that will give you an advantage. But what's important is that we're making some headway in elite sports, certainly in big sports like track and field and swimming and cycling. But now we are literally throwing all the pathways and all the young athletes onto, just saying that they're not worth fair sport. So we've got about 14 million females in this country that participate in sporting activities, and 99.99% of them do not do elite sport. So about 1,000 women in the UK earn their living from sport, 11,000 men. So you already have a much smaller piece of the cake. Yes. And you mentioned, parkrun there. Sport England give parkrun about £5 million to discriminate at the moment against female athletes. And to me, that's wrong. So as taxpayers, we need to do something about this. This is our money. So tell our MPs that we want fair sport for females. We want a protected category. Everybody must do sport, Andrew. You know that. Yeah. I'm keen for everyone to do sport. I always have been. But it just needs to be fair and it needs to be safe. So we need to either create open categories where people can identify however they like and however they feel comfortable, or we need to create extra categories. But throwing women's sport under the bus is not the answer.
I really do like to play devil's advocate and try and express the other opinion. But in this case, it's very difficult to do that because it seems so blatantly obvious that sports should be segregated by sex. And that's what most people believe. But I would ask you, what do you think is going through the heads of these men who participate in women's sports? Aren't they even slightly ashamed of what they're doing?
I don't know. I don't understand, particularly something like parkrun, where there are plenty of boxes that you can tick. There are boxes that says, I don't wish to announce my gender. I mean, you can run on the day however you want to, dressed however you want to, presenting however you want to. And I just think having to tick the correct box for your biology. I mean, you mentioned 3. The fact that we think there's closer to 20 parkrun records that are held by males, and that's just here in the UK. This is happening at every level of sport across the whole world, in all different types of competition. Just last week, we were hearing about volleyball scholarships in America that were going to males that were supposed to be going to females protected under Title IX. And even today in America, and America and Canada do seem to be the worst offenders, they've now just said that men can self-identify into boxing. Now, in boxing, males hit 160% harder than females. Someone is going to get killed, and it's going to be a female. And to prove the obvious, the fact that we already know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about this is there is a consensus on this. I think you would struggle to find the average person in the street who would think it's a good idea to put men in women's boxing. So why is it the case, given that there's such an overwhelming consensus on this? Can it be the case that so many sporting bodies seem to take the view of this tiny minority of activists?
Yeah, I think you touched on it earlier in the programme, actually. The Equality Act has a lot to do with this. So we need clarity with the Equality Act. When it was written in 2010, it used the word sex, a protected characteristic, and everybody knew that it meant biological sex. That now has morphed into meaning anyone that has, a piece of paper that says they're female. That's not biological sex. Biological sex is biology. It is whether you have, female gametes, right? And that is it. And it's a very easy thing to screen for. We can do that at Olympic level. We used to do it for many, many years. In fact, I've got a little card that says that I'm female, as well as my 3 kids. So there are lots of ways that we can do this. But I think it's just about understanding that we need equality for females in sport, the same way we do in all the other areas. But biology is very relevant in sport. And to pretend that that's not the case is utterly ridiculous. And as you said, most people agree with this. I think there's been some bullying. I think Stonewall have misrepresented the law. I think they've often threatened to sue when they will not sue because the law will not protect that position. But they're dealing with young females who have been intimidated into not having a voice. And that has a lot to do with it as well. So
absolutely,
middle-aged women like me are coming out and speaking out. But it's very hard for the young ones to come out and speak out and to come together and together is their power, and that's what they need to do.
Well, thank goodness you are, Sharron Davies. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it.
Welcome, and Happy New Year to everybody. Just before I go,
and to you, thank you. Now, Natalie Washington of the group Pride Sports called the Policy Exchange report, quote, pseudo-scientific political propaganda, adding, women in particular want to know that they can turn up and be included in sport, not have to participate in onerous and invasive sex testing to run around a park with their friends. And a spokeswoman for Parkrun said, as a health charity, it is right that we continue to prioritise inclusion, enabling us to positively impact the lives of hundreds of thousands of people every single weekend.